As that kid in The Simpsons once so eloquently put it, stop, he's already dead. Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, for now, is imploding, and he's taking the Conservative Party with him. And you and I, dear friends, have front row seats. It's like being trapped in somebody else's anxiety dream, if that somebody else is one of the worst people that you know. Now, there's this new game, which is, it can't possibly get worse for Rishi Sunak, can it? Yes, it can, absolutely. And it will get worse. This latest debacle really is, though, the chef's kisses. Quick précis of where we're at. The Tories were already in a death spiral before Rishi Sunak took over, thanks to a combination of violating the rules they set during the world's worst health emergency in a century, when ordinary people, of course, couldn't hold the hands of dying relatives in their last moments and had funerals on Zoom, multiple scandals ranging from corruption to harassment, the worst squeeze in living standards ever recorded, an imploding National Health Service, disintegrating public services after years of austerity, Liz Truss crashing the economy with unhinged right-wing policies, the whipping up of the Tory base into a frenzy over immigration with no workable solutions to deal with their fury over it, the general madness of getting through 3 prime ministers in a single term, never-ending Tory civil war. Well, it wasn't looking good from the outset, was it? Now, for some reason, Rishi Sunak decided to call an election earlier than he had to, when he might have hoped something could have turned up with the economy, for example, and crucially, that Nigel Farage might have gallivanted off to the United States to campaign for his good dear chum, Donald Trump, instead of standing against the Conservatives. Well, since then, he called that election, it has been one calamity after another, with the Tory flagship policy dictating to young adults what they do with their free time, going down like a cup of cold sick, and Sunak lying through his teeth about Labour's tax policies. That part is relevant to what happens next. And of course, Nigel Farage standing alongside the Reform Party and massively eating into the Conservative vote before this. Now, that's kind of key, isn't it? Because if I were Rishi Sunak and whatever problems I have in my life, thank the Lord I'm not, I would at least understand that my big weak point right now is that socially conservative older Britons have turned away from me. So my view would be, whatever I do, don't make them more angry. Woo them, probably. So what did Rishi Sunak do? Now, yesterday was the D-Day celebrations, of course, and as the 80th anniversary of the Normandy landings, and of course, that was the final lap in the struggle against the Nazis on the Western Front. Clearly, it's a biggie. Many of those who were there, the veterans, well, they won't be around for long. So it was a big deal for many reasons. All the international key leaders, of course, there. If I was Prime Minister, but particularly a Conservative Prime Minister with his political problems in the general election, I think rule number 1 would be, don't mess this one up. What did he do? Left the commemoration early to do an interview with ITV's Paul Brand so he could lie some more about the lie about Labour's tax plans. Let's have a listen.
OK, let's talk about tax, because it has been a big issue in the past couple of days, right? I think everyone would agree. Are you willing to lie in order to stay in power?
No.
The Labour Party say you're a liar.
Yeah, I think it's pretty desperate stuff. And Keir Starmer and Labour Party obviously very rattled that we've exposed their plans to raise tax on people. And that's what it demonstrates.
But your claim is dubious. You know it's dubious.
No, I don't. I think people know that I'm across the detail when it comes to numbers. The Chancellor gave a press conference on this very topic almost a month ago, where he laid out all the workings behind what we were saying. And I'm happy to go through it.
His permanent secretary at the Treasury said, do not use this to claim that civil servants have crunched these numbers.
No, that's not right.
That's the letter that's been published.
I can tell you exactly. I'm happy to go through it with you. There are 27 different policies that go into this number. 21 of them have been costed independently by Treasury officials. They're all online and people can find them. 2 of them come direct from the Labour Party, 3 of them from other public government sources, and 1 of them's from an independent investment bank. That's where all the workings come from.
Will you at least be upfront about the fact that this is based on Conservative advisers putting together the initial input?
No, what the analysis and the working is done by Treasury officials. They
based
are formal
on things that Conservative advisers have asked them to look at.
It's all transparent. It's all laid out online.
You're not being transparent now, Prime Minister.
People can go and read it online.
I love, by the way, the expression he does at the start of this. It's that look when someone is dying inside but trying to smile. Let's see it again.
OK, let's talk about tax, because it has been a big issue in the past couple of days, right?
Now, I'm extremely annoyed, as I keep saying, that he's forced me into a position of defending Keir Starmer. But the real problem with Labour right now is not that they're raising taxes on well-off Britons, which is what they should be doing, when there's a massive black hole in the nation's finances, which, if it isn't filled, will mean huge cuts to public services when they're already decimated by massive cuts. That's what Labour should be scrutinised over, given they're about to win a massive majority. At this rate, may leave them with practically every seat in the House of Commons, or share of seats which many dictatorships would consider a little bit OTT. Instead, Rishi Sunak is peddling this lie, so the whole narrative is about lies rather than what we should be debating. Anyway, it's also reported that his team debated Rishi Sunak not turning up to the D-Day commemorations at all. Amazing. Now, if I was Sunak's advisor, again, fortunately I'm not, my conversation before doing an interview to apologise for all this would have gone something like this. Prime Minister, I'm going to level with you. This is bad. This is actually really, really bad. It couldn't really be much worse unless it turns out you're a serial killer. Fingers crossed, that's not the election surprise. Now, look, rule number one in these circumstances, never, ever do a non-apologetic apology. That is probably the worst thing you could do right now, serial killing aside. It's actually worse than not apologising at all. So either do a really, really heartfelt, sincere apology or just don't apologise. Obviously not apologising, by the way, would be bad, but I cannot emphasise enough just how much people hate non-apologetic apologies. It will drive people up the wall. Okay? Got it, big guy? You've got him? I trust you. You go get him. Let's just hear him being interviewed now by Sam Coates for Sky News.
2 days, I've participated in a number of events in Portsmouth and France to honour those who risked their lives to defend our freedom and our values 80 years ago. The itinerary for these events was set weeks ago, before the start of the general election campaign, and having participated in all the British events with British veterans, I returned home before the International Leaders event later in the day. On reflection, that was a mistake, and I apologise. I think it's important, though, given the enormity of the sacrifice made, that we don't politicise this. The focus should rightly be on the veterans who gave so much. I had the honour and privilege of speaking to many of them and their families, hearing their stories, expressing my gratitude personally to them. But I'm someone who will always admit when I've made a mistake. That's what you'll always get from me.
I have to say, Prime Minister, you sound more exasperated than apologetic. These men made the ultimate sacrifice, and you couldn't even sacrifice a whole afternoon. Ken Hay, a 98-year-old D-Day veteran, told us that you let the country down. Is he right?
I participated in events both in Portsmouth and in France over 2 days because this is an incredibly important moment for our country to commemorate the sacrifice of all of those and their service. And it was a real honour and a privilege to meet many veterans and speak to them and their families, hear their stories, express my gratitude to them, and build on our record of making sure that this is the best country in the world for veterans.
Prime Minister, you didn't care, did you?
No, I cared deeply.
Then why didn't you stay?
As I said, the itinerary for these events was set weeks ago.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What do you even say? What do you even say? One of the worst not apologetic apologies I've ever listened to. Now, I don't really buy what he's saying, partly because he's a self-evidently extremely dishonest person. If the itinerary was organised before the election, why would he need to leave early, given he left early to do an interview with ITV journalist Paul Brand? In fact, my understanding is that his team pitched the interview with that exact slot to ITV journalist Paul Brand. And is he saying that his leaving the ceremony early to give an interview to an ITV journalist so he could lie about lying to attack the opposition leader shouldn't be politicised? That's quite the front. Wild, wild stuff. Now look, in the grand scheme of things, yes, this is symbolism. You know? Fine. I get that. The point really is the Tories really have lost, catastrophically lost, because this country is in a real mess because of everything that they've actually done. And on the current polling, before this, Labour was set to win between 455 and 484 seats, with the Tories on between 76 and 86 seats. Indeed, it's entirely plausible that Labour could win one of the biggest parliamentary majorities in British history while getting a similar vote share as Labour got in 2017. What I would say is this emphasises a crucial point. The Tories are finished. They are dead in the water. There's no coming back for them in this election. It is all over. What matters now is Labour are going to get a whopping big landslide majority. You can be absolutely nailed on sure that will happen. So you can vote according to your conscience. So you should vote for the Green Party unless you've got a good left-wing Labour candidate or independent standing to put pressure on the next inevitable government over hiking taxes on the rich, public investment, public ownership, workers' rights, climate, supporting the Palestinian cause, you name it. The Tories really are toast. So let's send Labour a message. Please like and subscribe. Do leave your comments. We'd love to hear them. Do help us take on the lovely media ecosystem we've got on in this country. Patreon.com/Under84. Listen to the podcast. I'll speak to you soon.